Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Factional Fight Update from my car. As you can see, I'm driving home. As I do every day for so many hours, I decided to just turn on the recorder and bounce some ideas off that are bouncing around my head. Now, I gotta start off by saying we're so sorry that we were not able to stream this weekend. So, funny thing happened. It started off with it looking like we weren't gonna be able to organize a day, but I was gonna stream anyway on my own. Brian was busy on Friday, I was busy on Saturday, and it came down to Sunday, and Brian was busy on Sunday. It was just like horrible. So we didn't end up streaming last weekend, even though I was going to, and the reason was because on Saturday I was moving a new dining room table into our house and threw out my back, and so yeah, I was bedridden for the last few days. Today was the first day I went back to work, and it was horrible because my back is just dying. Good thing I have heated seats in my car, and that's helped out a lot. But nonetheless, yeah, that's why we didn't end up recording. We apologize for not being able to send out messages. I was totally off the ball, completely not in the right headspace to think about streaming or even playing video games. I literally played no video games over the weekend and just relaxed and tried to heal, and still in that mode. Now, good news is, I don't know if you guys remember, if you have been a long-time viewer, there was a period of time where I was recording in my basement, and the backdrop was all unfinished, like concrete, and there was some bookshelves there, and it was just a big mess in the back. Over the past few months, we have been renovating our basement, and so I have created a little space in there for my computer setup, and I'm going to be spending some time, albeit slowly because my back is, however much my back lets me, going to be moving some items down into the basement, including my computer setup, my desk, and everything. And the hope is that if I can slowly get it down there by this weekend, then I'll have a new space set up for streaming. You know, my ultimate dream is that at one time or another, I'm going to get myself a green screen that I can pull down, you know, like just like a roll green screen that pulls down, and that way I can make it look like it's just my outline hovering over the Worm Online space, so you can see more of the screen. I hope that comes at some point or another, but my hope is that I can get my setup downstairs by this weekend, and then I will be down for streaming for sure. At least one day this weekend, and the hope is to get Brian out there with me, and we can get back into Worm, which has been something that I've been itching to do for the past little bit. As I said in the last week, I sort of like took a little bit of a break from Worm, did a couple things with some characters, but not too much, you know, maybe a couple hours here and then a couple hours there, and that was about it over the entire break. And then since this weekend, I just literally haven't been able to get to my computer at all. Trying to catch up with work, and just having a ton of stuff going on in life, and so. But this weekend, I'm definitely going to make it a priority because I miss it. I'm missing the streaming. Really want to get back into it, and I would love to get it done with my new setup in the basement. So I look forward to that. Now, things that I want to talk about on the stream, because let's start here. I've been watching a whole bunch of people streaming lately. Sometimes I say something in the chat. Sometimes I'm just hanging out in the back, not contributing, but just enjoying. And what I'm finding is I like the streamers who are just talking away. It doesn't have to be anything in particular that they're talking about. It could be just what they're doing, talking about what they're doing, talking about random things. It could be completely unrelated to Worm. There's times where I'll drop into Kimmy's stream, and she's talking about stuff that she talks about, and I find that super entertaining. I love listening to conversation, to talk, to thoughts, to people's ideas, no matter what they are, and that's what keeps me entertained. I have a hard time viewing those streams where it's pretty much somebody streaming away but they're not saying anything, or not commentating or anything like that. Like I can watch it for a little bit, and there's no offense, like there's some people who like watching this stuff, just watching other people play, but I really think that that conversation is a key part to streams. And so every week when we prepare for a stream, we always think about what we might want to talk about, some topics of conversation, and we jot those topics of conversation down. Now, way back in the day when we started streaming, near the beginning, what we would do is not only lay out the topics of conversation, but we would literally bullet point everything we want to say, word for word sometimes. Like it was just like pages upon pages of notes going into one episode. And then that episode, back then, we were only streaming for like an hour, or we might even be just recording a video. We did a bit of streaming too, but it was really only for like an hour. And so we pretty much had everything that we were going to say laid out ahead of time, and that took hours to prepare. Like hours. We would go, like for example, there were times when we would pick a topic, like mining, let's say, or we would pick a topic like, dye making, and we would pick people's brains. We would ask other people that we knew who, in the game, who knew about these things, and we would ask them, okay, can you think of any tips or tricks, or can you think of any, newbie advice, or things like that? We would ask them questions, and we'd gather all this information together, and, write it all down, and then we would organize it into some sort of sequence, and we would throw in some, funny things here and there, all planned out. Like it was literally I guess just short of a script, basically. It was pretty much just short of a script, and there were even some things that we literally scripted. Like we knew exactly what we were going to say, and we had it all scripted away. So yeah, that back then we had a lot of time to play the game, and we had a lot of time to think about these sorts of things. We had a lot less responsibility in our life, and so yeah, for sure, like that was a lot of fun. But nowadays it's, we're streaming for the enjoyment of streaming, even though we don't have as much time to play video games, let alone prepare for streams and, deliver that level of entertainment. I would definitely say that our stream has changed in terms of the type of genre that it is, whereas it used to be more like, how would you say, like a tutorial, sort of informative, but at the same time, we threw in lots of advanced techniques and well thought out, and it was somewhat more like an episode of a show that you'd watch. Whereas now, what you're watching is us just playing and talking about random things that are on our top of our minds, and just like it's more of a genuine conversation that we're having with both each other and with the audience. And that conversation can take us anywhere. We could just start talking about something random, completely unplanned, or we often think through the topics of conversation, and there are some weeks where the topics of conversation just present themselves. Like we have to talk about this and we have to talk about that, because these are the things that are like hot topics right now, pressing issues. And it's always great to have those types of weeks, and they always usually come around the time of updates, because every time that there's an update coming, there's always like news after news after news that just like keeps coming out, and we always have new things to talk about. And then when we have, when it's like in between those types of things, then the types of topics that we like to talk about are how we would like to see the game evolve. What do we see about the future of Worm? And that is a central theme of our show all the time. We love the way that this game has been developed over the last 5-6 years that we've been playing, and we would love to see it continue to evolve in this way. And so we always have these ideas of just creative thoughts, and so that always is something that's motivating for us to talk about. But we're getting to this point where a lot of the things that we wanted in the game have come, and then there's a lot of things that we've wanted in the game that haven't come, but probably are never going to come, because we know when we're coming up with these random ideas that half of them, way more than half of them, are just pipe dreams. Like like, for example, one that springs to mind is Brian really, really, really wanted tree houses, of all things, and pipe dream. So we've kind of gotten to that point where we don't have that much more that we might want to happen in the game. We love the way that it is, and we love the way that's developed, and of course tweaks and improvements on mechanics of things, like in a minor way, are well, I think, needed for some things. In terms of major overhauls of systems, we could probably name just a couple, but we've run out of our creative juices on that because of how much this game has come, since we started playing. So it leaves us with this empty hole of no topics to talk about. And we don't like having shows where all we're doing is playing, or just talking about what we're doing in the game, because while I do enjoy watching other people do that, it's just not our style to do something in the game and just talk about only that. We stream mostly because we get enjoyment out of these types of conversations that push our thought processes to the boundaries, and we can be creative through that, and we can tell stories, and we can just have fun. That sort of thing is fun for us. So I'm sitting down now thinking, okay, we're going to stream and we need to talk about something, but even in the last update, I was talking about the previous, like I'm talking about fishing and priests and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of what is there left to talk about. What can we push to the next? What's the next thing to move ourselves towards? And that's pretty much what's on my mind. That's where I am in my thought process along this line. I am at this point where I'm stuck in what to talk about. Now, maybe a month ago, I knew that this was like we were approaching this. Maybe it was 2 months ago. I can't remember. I knew we were approaching this point. I'm thinking ahead. The update's going to come out. We have already talked about the update for the past, I don't know how many months, and the update's going to be here, and then we're going to have a thing where we talk about how we like the update, and then we're going to do what next. And I knew that day was coming. At the time, I made a post somewhere. I'm trying to remember now if it was just to Patreon. It might have been just on Patreon. And I posted something to the effect of, this is the list of things that we have on our docket for talking about. But we're looking for more, because what's on the list is basically update and all the little details about the update, and there might have been a couple more, like maybe 3 or 4 more items. So I posed to the Patreon community, which I admit is rather small in comparison to the full audience of our show. I asked, is there anything that you would be interested in us talking about? Just any topic related to Worm, or even otherwise, that you might be interested in hearing us talk about. And maybe if you submit something that we go, that's kind of interesting, we'll take it as a segment in our show. Unfortunately, nobody responded. So I am now branching out to the YouTube community. So for you guys who watch my update every week, hopefully maybe some of you have some idea about things that we might, talk about. Topics of conversation for our show. And again, it could be anything related to Worm. It could be questions to us, like how we used to have a question-answer segment of our show. It could just be literally a topic, like talk about cooking. Although it is more interesting if it's more specific. You know, I might say, well, what about cooking are you interested in? So if you can elaborate on that, that would be helpful. But yeah, we really need more things to talk about. Now, I know that one thing that people in the audience have told us that they want us to do is more tutorials. The reality, however, is that I think any tutorial we do now in the format that we have available to us now is not going to come off very effective. I am imagining the most effective tutorial, and we are not able to do that right now, is the problem. So it would be more like cutscenes. If you look back at our tutorials as they were before, and granted they are older tutorials, and we had so many more planned, it was just like, even back then when we had the time, it was just a lot of effort to make like a 10-minute little tutorial. There were many scenes being taken. They were, you know, it was almost like making a movie, right? So like for every scene that you see, we might have done 5-6 takes of it. Just the planning of the sequence of the things took a lot. Like we had to write the whole thing, and those ones were mostly scripted. So the script would be written, the scenes would be written. We would then have to collect those scenes. We would have like scenes where we're being chased by hellhounds and stuff. We would have to go and find hellhounds and line it up, and there would be countless takes just to get it right, and that sort of thing was happening. So tutorials are completely different than the thing that we want to be producing. What we want to be producing are long form conversations. If you think there's a big market right now in podcasting, and I know that every time I say that our show is like a podcast, everybody says, "No, it's not like a podcast. Don't make it a podcast." Okay, but the reality is that it is a podcast. If you turn the video off and just listen to our voices, it's essentially the same as a podcast is. A prime example is Joe Rogan. If you guys know Joe Rogan and his podcast style, is that he has a video where he's in a long-form conversation with somebody, and there's a video, right? Like you can see them sitting at the table together and they're talking. But ultimately, it is a podcast, and the reason why you would classify it as a podcast is because the interesting part about what's happening there is just the conversation. Okay, you don't need the visual to see what's interesting, and I think that that's the form that we're kind of interested in creating, is a video, but at the same time something that somebody can just pop in their headphones, close their eyes and listen to, and they get the full experience of it. So with that in mind, long form conversation, what makes long form conversation interesting is an interesting topic, and then our ideas flowing back and forth between each other on this interesting topic. So really what it comes down to is we need interesting topics to talk about related to Worm, or otherwise. Again, we sometimes like to branch outside of Worm. Like for example, there was one segment where we were talking about virtual reality. Also, it connected with Worm because Worm and virtual reality is something that is also a pipe dream. Although there might be something coming down the line related to it soon, because Buddha has shown interest in the development of virtual reality. But because Brian just got his new virtual reality headset and he's been playing around with that, he really wants to see virtual reality in Worm. So we had this whole topic of conversation related to virtual reality in video games in general, and we just went off on a tangent there. Okay, so these sorts of things would be great topics. So if before virtual reality was on our radar, if let's say an audience member said, "What do you guys think about virtual reality?" we would have taken that and flown with it. So these types of conversations that are interesting, the topics that are interesting, we're kind of looking for more of those. And of course, we'll bring to the table what we normally do. It's just that I'm feeling like a lot of what we want to say or are interested in saying is we've kind of already said it. And I have no issue repeating conversations because I love having these conversations, and if you have them again and again, they're always going to go differently, and you might hit something that you haven't hit upon earlier. It's just I'd like to see more variety for us. Yeah, I'd like to see more variety. Speaking of which, another segment that I'm interested in trying out is a sort of a game show type segment. Where an audience member is picked and we run through sort of a game show sort of thing. I really want to try a Deal or No Deal, like the a la Gumbo. Gumbo does a really good Deal or No Deal. He has it down though, like he knows exactly how to set it up, and I am sort of just looking into the setup of it and how to carry it out. And I know I'm gonna make mistakes. That's what my fear is that I set it up and I make mistakes. But nonetheless, I've collected a variety of items, and we can also throw in some silver in there, and do a Deal or No Deal on the show, and I think that'll be so much fun. And it doesn't own, maybe there's other types of kind of game shows that might fit for this situation that we're in the Twitch situation. I'll have to do a little bit of research to see what kind of games can be done, and of course giveaways and lots of prizes and stuff, and that'll be a lot of fun to do. So I'm gonna sit down and talk with Brian about this. Now again, like usual, it's a play it by ear type thing in terms of when we're gonna be recording. My eye is always set on Friday, but that would be my ideal day if I could just nail it down. The problem is I always ask Brian if Friday works, and he always says no. And he always says Saturday works for him, but Saturday is hard for me. It's like we're really on opposite schedules, unfortunately. You gotta remember, we're brothers, but as you get older, your lives separate, and he has his own life. I have my own life. I have my own family. He has his own family. We see each other on special events and stuff, but we now live a good 40-minute drive away from each other, so it's not like we're next doors and talk to each other every day. We text each other here and there. We see each other every so often. Whenever we see each other, we talk about Worm or we talk about video games of some kind, and on the show, that's the other time we get to see each other. So really the show is like our time to hang out with each other. It's just both of our lives have gotten really busy, and that's how it is. So nonetheless, we want to get back to streaming anyway. We've had people ask us, why do you guys stream? Why do you guys do this? And really the ultimate answer is we enjoy doing it. We love doing it. It's just so much fun. It's like a creative outlet for us. And we get a kick out of the audience and your interaction and how you guys enjoy it as well. Like it's just so much fun for us. So we want to get back to that. Sorry, I'm making a right-hand turn, so I got to keep my eye over that way. Yeah, we want to get back to it, and we will. It's just a matter of healing my back, making sure I can make it through a whole thing, and yeah, got to get some topics to talk about and some segments to sort of develop, and we'll be back at it. So with that said, I don't have anything in worm related sort of talk about because I haven't really been playing, mostly because my back and work and lots of things. So let me think here. I did log in once though. What did I do? I think I was working on the design of that basement still. I think I talked about this last time, but I went in again and worked on the design of the basement again. It's kind of come down to just getting to destroying and building walls and to get that set done. I have been a little bit unhappy with how it sort of turned out. I feel as though I should have started in Deed Planner, which I didn't. I started by just constructing, and then I went to Deed Planner. Once I got it all done, I think my initial choice was to go with slate. slate as the main color, and then have other colors sort of accenting each room. So it would be a slate with a pottery accent, or it would be slate with a sandstone accent. I'm thinking back and I'm thinking maybe I should have made a different choice, but I'm so deep into this that in order to make a change now would require a lot more destroying and a lot more building again. And maybe I'll have the time to sit down and think about that. But I remember at the time Joelle was saying to me, she hates slate. Slate is like just everything else is fine, just slate is not. And I'm like thinking, I kind of wanted a basement-y, dungeon-y feeling, and slate kind of gives the dungeon-y feel. But now that I look at it, it's like, it's very dark, but also like kind of bland. And I'm trying to think of what is going to accent with the black. And the only thing I could think of is gold. Like gold and black go well together. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out. I'm gonna look through that. So that's what I was doing. I was just basically walking through the basement, looking at it, going, do I want to change the colors? Do I want to? Maybe I'll keep some walls slate and change some to, like, I don't know, sandstone or rendered, or I don't know, something that's more plain. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we'll find out what I'm gonna do next. Probably on the stream. I'll think about it. And I don't know what we're going to be doing on stream. I haven't thought of that either, whether we're going to do more construction on the basement or we're going to do something else. Depends on if I can get Brian to come with me or not. So we'll see about that. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the stream here, or the show here. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my thoughts, and I hope you guys tune into the next stream, which will for sure be this weekend. I'm going to make it happen. If I can't, you know what, I should probably try to be better at letting you guys know what's happening as it's happening. I just have to set up a venue for that. Maybe we'll get a Twitter or something, I don't know. Never been one for Twitter, but maybe we'll get something that can alert you guys of what's going on behind the scenes. So anyway, that's it for that. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys this weekend in Worm. Alright, check you later.